For example, African American women are the fastest growing group of entrepreneurs in the United States. Yet we only have 20 African American female founders that are making more than had more than $1 million of investment. Well, I feel like boys club is a little bit of a loaded term. So I will say the industry is predominantly male, right? And male from the top. So the venture capitalists that fund these technology companies that raise these rounds, they're predominantly white and male, which means the people that they invest in look like them, which means they're predominantly young, white, and male. And then those people build companies that look like them, which means they're predominantly young, white, and male. So there's a very narrow sort of band of talent or representation in the industry, and we haven't seen a lot of changes. We've seen some positive movement, but we haven't seen a lot of changes when it comes to age, ethnic, and gender diversity in the industry. I mean, it's pretty easy. I like to think. I mean, everybody says it's hard, but you just have to hire people and invest in people. For example, African American women are the fastest growing group of entrepreneurs in the United States. Yet we only have 20 African American female founders that are making more than had more than $1 million of investment. So when you look at sort of the dichotomy, it's like the group of people is there. It's just that they're not being invested in, and they're also not being hired, and they're not being promoted. And so I think just instituting equitable practices, and as a quick plug, that's what my company ReadySet does. So, give us a call too. I think the tech industry, and this is kind of starting right now, this is why I think the Me Too movement is a great movement, but needs to take a cold, hard look at itself, right? I think that there needs to be a little bit more introspection. And then I think after that introspection, we have to be willing to make the tough decisions, right? And undoing some of the dangerous things that are embedded in our DNA. And what I mean by that is, like, tech has had its Me Too moment as well. And unlike Hollywood, I kind of feel like people are waiting for it to just go on, right? They're kind of sweeping it under the rug. And we haven't seen, for example, huge changes in the way VC firms are structured. We haven't seen a bunch of, women or people of color elevated to CEO positions. And instead, we've sort of seen business as usual, but just done a little bit more carefully. And that's not what it's going to take, right? There needs to be sort of a big shift to move in the right direction. And that means getting more people from different backgrounds on board, reevaluating the way we think about talent and who we uplift, support, and promote, and thinking about the markets that we want to tap, right? Like where we want to target our innovation. So yeah, I think that until we do that, we're not really going to move from where we are right now. So I think this is like a harder question to ask, because every time I get asked who's doing it right, I answer that question and then they do something not right. But I will take a shot, and not to just plug my friends, but for example, Frida Kapor-Klein, who's one of the co-founders of Project Include, has just retired from her VC firm that invests in social impact organizations. And they have a portfolio full of companies founded by women and underrepresented minority founders and women of color. So I think that's one example. Ellen Powell, who helped basically push Project Include forward, is another example. So I think that, some of these women who have moved to actually fix what they see is going wrong in the industry are pointing the way forward. I also have to recognize my other fellow Project Include folks, Tracy Chow, Erica Baker, Bethany Blount, Laura Gomez. These are all women and founding companies that are trying to address bias that's happening in the industry. And so when I think about who's doing it positively, obviously I think of them. But aside from that, I think that there are other organizations like Code 2040 and Hack the Hood that are trying to get in the next generation of technologists into these companies, and I think that they should be highlighted as well. And there's a lot of social impact development happening in the space too. And so I think those companies should be highlighted. So yeah, I mean, like there's definitely some positive movements. I just, I don't want us, and by us I mean people who are women and minority founders, to solely focus on companies that relate to our identity, right? I also think it's important that that the promising companies are companies that have diversity and inclusion embedded into their DNA, even if it's not their business. And so I'm always on the lookout for those organizations. So if I find them, I'll share them with you, and I would love to know who they are. Yeah.